Alright guys, we're now fetching data through the front end application using our API. Now what we're going to do is make it so that we can add to the database as well through our HTML, JavaScript, and jQuery app. So I'm going to go to my index.html and we're going to create a form up here. So let's go right above the UL and I'm going to put in an H1 and we'll just say add item. And then let's put in a form with the ID of item form. Alright, and then in here let's put a div, and I'm going to give this a class of form group. Okay, and then in here we'll put a label, and this will be text, and then an input. Okay, it's going to have the type of text. We don't need a name, we're going to do an ID of text. And let's see, we don't need a value either, but we're going to put a class in called form control. Alright, and then we'll just copy this div group or this form group, and then this is going to be the body. Okay, and it's going to be a text area, so we can replace the input type. Okay, and then the ID will be body. Class form control, and now we need an ending text area tag as well. All right, and then we want to do our submit. So let's say input type is going to be submit, and let's see, value, we'll just say submit. Okay, let's save it and reload, and now we have a form. Let's actually put an HR tag under the form, and let's give the submit button a class of btn and btn primary. There we go. So now what we need to do is we need to catch the submit event for this form, and we're going to do that using jQuery. So let's go down here and let's say submit event. Okay, remember we gave the form an ID of item form, and then we want an event, so we're going to do on submit. We're going to run a function. Alright, and we're going to pass in e here, and then we're going to say e.prevent default, and that'll prevent the form from actually trying to submit to a file. Okay, now we need to get the text and the body that's filled in the form. So let's create a variable called text, and we're going to set this to jQuery and the ID of text, and then we want the value, so .val, and then do the same thing for the body. Okay, so body.val. Alright, so now that we have that, we're going to run this through a function called add item. Alright, so add item will take in text and body. So now we need to create that. So right down here, we'll say insert items using API. Okay, so function add item. And again, that's going to take in the text and the body. Alright, so let's see what we want to do. We want to make another AJAX request just like we did here. So let's say moneysign.ajax, pass in an object, and this is going to take in, we're going to specify the method, which is going to be post this time. Alright, and then the URL, which will be HTTP, and it's going to be item api.dev/API/items. Okay, and we want to also send along some data. Okay, that's going to be an object, and we're going to say text, which will come from the text that's passed in. Same thing with the body. Alright, and then we want to do this .done, so this will run when it's finished, and let's see, we're going to pass in a function, and that's going to pass back the item that gets inserted. Alright, so then we'll just do an alert, and let's say item number, and then we can actually get the item ID that's passed back, and then we'll just concatenate added. So it'll say item 2 added or whatever. All right, then we need to reload the page so that it shows up in our list right here. So to do that, we're just going to say location dot reload. All right, so let's save that, and then let's give it a shot. So we'll say, let's do item 4. This is item 4, and submit. Item number 4 added. Click OK, and it reloads, and there it is. All right, so we're now inserting data through our API. So the last thing we're going to do is delete. Okay, so I'm going to add a delete link on each one of these. Okay, now remember, it's not in the HTML up here. It's down here being generated right here. All right, so let's add on, let's see, we'll go right here and put an A tag. It's going to go nowhere. But we need to add a class, and let's give it a class of delete link. Actually, let's do delete link. All right, and then we need a way to access the ID. All right, so what we'll do is we'll use a data attribute. So we'll say data-ID, and we're going to set that. Remember, we're using a template string, so we can use this syntax to put in a variable. So we'll say item.id, and then the text will just say delete. All right, so let's save that and take a look. Good. So now we want to grab onto the event when we click these. So let's go back up here, and let's see, we'll go right here and we'll say delete event. Okay, so remember, it has a class of, actually, you know what, since the markup is being generated here, if we just do .on and then, or if we do delete link on click, it's not going to work. What we have to do is delegate it. So we're going to say body, okay, body.on, and then in here, let's see, in here is where we want to put first the event type, which is click, and then the element, the delete element, which is delete link, or dot delete link, and then we have our function. All right, so let's see, we're going to pass in e and then do e.prevent default, and let's just test this out and do a console.log, and we'll just say delete. So if we go over here and click that, and it's not working. Oh, right here, this is wrong. It should be like that. There we go. So now here you're seeing delete. Now we want to grab the ID, and remember we put the ID in a data attribute right here, so we want to access that. So the way that we can do it is by saying, actually I'm going to put this in a variable. We'll say let ID equals, and we can use this, which refers to the current element that's being clicked, and then we'll say .data and ID. Okay, and then let's console log ID. Go back over here, reload. Okay, you see 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so that's sending along the ID. Now what we want to do is call a function. I'm going to replace this with a function called delete item. All right, and then we're going to create that right here. So we'll say delete item through API. So function delete item. Okay, takes in the ID, and then we just want to make another request, just like we did here. Let's copy this. Okay, now remember, we're not going to do delete like that, because with Laravel, we actually want to send it as a post request, and then we want to send along, we can get rid of this, we want to send along underscore method and set that to delete. All right, and then we'll just alert item removed, and then we'll reload. All right, Actually, we need to pass on to the URL the ID. So slash, and then we'll just concatenate on the ID. All right, so let's go and reload. Let's go to item 4, click delete. We get item removed. We click OK, and it's gone. All right. So I'm going to leave it here, guys. And if you want to try to add on update functionality, you can go ahead and do that. What I would suggest is putting an edit link, catching the click, and then inserting the content into the form so that you can update it. All right, so that, I guess you kind of have a little homework assignment. All right, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next project.